I hear over and over again we've heard from comments on social media, from the donors who were here yesterday who were talking about the transparency of the organization, is that you do things that nobody else is doing in Washington, which is keeping government officials accountable.
Well, and educating people about what the government's up to. The reason our donors or supporters know about what's happening in Washington is because people don't understand we're an educational foundation.
Yeah.
We send the mail out. We go through social media, and it's one thing to go on and bloviate about the problems here in Washington. It's another thing to have an approach to figure out what's going on, so we can address the problems. Unless you know what the problem is, you really can't address it. And Judicial Watch is focused on the problem of corruption and its endemic nature here in Washington, D.C., and it's caused by this arrogance, secrecy, and contempt for the rule of law by most government agencies and most senior officials, even if they don't understand they're being contemptuous of the rule of law. Just the way they operate is inherently contemptuous.
There's something about...
it's the attitude.
It's power corrupts. Power corrupts. Tell me, because we haven't really addressed this in the last couple of days, so I wanted you to do it. What the latest on, I'm going to put this in quotes, Russian collusion, Mueller's investigation, and what people need to follow, because as I said, people who are watching this are educated into the details. What should we've seen Manafort and Gates. I think Manafort's been indicted, Gates is indicted. What is Judicial Watch trying to find? What's not being seen? Well, FISA Court, things like that.
Well, there are two new indictments issued by Robert Mueller's investigation that have nothing to do with Russia collusion. People should remember that the Mueller investigation was started to investigate collusion potentially between the Russians and the Trump
campaign
to steal the election. And he hasn't been focused on that, as best we can tell. All the indictments have nothing to do with it. All the plea deals have nothing to do with it. And, fundamentally, the Russian collusion scandal is collapsing. At least the liberal version of it is collapsing. The idea that the Trump people were working with the Russians to steal the election, there's no evidence of it. And to the degree there is any evidence of it, it's all in the Russia dossier created by the Clinton-DNC operation. So it's this political document that has been, according to the Nunes memo,
explain that
minimally corroborated. So the dossier...
I do think people are getting confused. The dossier was sort of an opposition research, for lack of a better term.
Hillary Clinton hired this company, Fusion GPS, to go out and find dirt on Donald Trump. And they came up with this narrative, which is completely false, that the Russians had dirt on Trump and that Trump people were trying to collaborate with the Russians to steal the election.
Right.
And there was no corroborating evidence for any of that. And what's really outrageous about it is that they laundered it into the FBI. To me, if you learn that intelligence operatives in Russia are trying to blackmail the incoming president or candidate for president of the United States, the Republican Party, what do? You go and alert him. You protect him. Instead, they use it as a pretext to spy on him.
That's a good point.
And so you got to wonder why Mueller is still using this dossier.
And by using it, you were saying they used it in the FISA Court.
Well, it's been used in the FISA Court repeatedly. And, based on the Nunes memo, and Devin Nunes is the head of the Intelligence Committee in the House, who quite heroically has pushed to get this information out.
Right.
They didn't tell the court that it was a political document, basically Hillary Clinton. It was an opposition research document. And I don't think they told the court that it was corroborated, that it was minimally corroborated.
Right.
So you really have this kind of crisis where you've got this dossier being used to generate excuses to spy on the Trump team.
And
it's still being used
spying on Americans.
To spy on Americans improperly.
And why we're using these FISA
and it's still being used to justify the investigation of Robert Mueller.
And you guys, Judicial Watch has one of your FOIA suits. I think, is it FOIA with FISA Court? Is it the same law? To get to see exactly what the FBI used in order to spy on the Trump campaign.
We FOIA'd FISA. So
that's such a Washington sentence. We should. I guess the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. FISA is Foreign Intelligence
Surveillance Act.
So, what the question is did FBI have anything when they went to court to ask to spy on the Trump administration? Did they have anything except for this falsified memo from the Hillary Clinton campaign? And that's what you. And this I'll ask you because I don't know the answer. FISA courts are secret, I understand that. Has there ever been any time where they've been released their information? Is this a new?
I think
breaking
certain
new ground
documents
here?
from FISA Court operations have been released subsequently, and the
Okay.
courts have discretion to release it, and certainly the Justice Department, they can ask that documents be released and material be declassified.
Oh, okay.
So what we have now is the Nunes memo describing the FISA Court process and its evident abuse. The Democrats now want to put a memo out that also defends the FISA Court process.
Because members of Congress have seen it.
Right,
more
they've
than
seen, well, one or two members may have seen the underlying FISA material, but it's largely been kept secret from the American people, both from Congress and the American people. So we filed Freedom of Information Act requests. And I've always told the White House that they should take this approach of extreme transparency. They should start declassifying this material, releasing this material, because I tell you, Emily, virtually every FOIA lawsuit we have, and we have nearly 24, well over 24 now,
Wow,
on
right now,
Russia
still
collusion.
on Russia collusion alone?
Yeah. Last time I counted, it was 26. So,
And also to be clear, on Russia collusion that nobody really thinks happened. This is the,
right,
what's-
we're asking for the unmaskings, we're asking for
Yes.
the targeting of Flynn, we're asking for the FISA court documents, we're asking about the DNC hacks, we're doing all sorts, pretty much everything you would think to ask about, we've asked about.
And Congress, by the way, is not doing these things.
Well, and they're getting the Stonewall too, to the degree they're even asking.
Right.
And at least we're in court.
You're in court and they're not.
But
right.
what's surprising is we're getting the Stonewall from agencies run by Trump appointees. So the
Huh.
Justice Department, the FBI, call it deep state, whatever you will,
Yeah.
is defending the operation that is so illicit, targeting Donald Trump, and the abuses of power during the Obama administration that frankly may still be continuing into the Trump administration, where Trump is being targeted inappropriately by law enforcement based on a Hillary Clinton campaign document
It's a
created in collaboration with Russian intelligence. It's unbelievable. So all the noise you hear about indictments, or even those Russia indictments, which had nothing to do with the price of tea in China, it's in terms of Russia collusion.
You're talking about Manafort and Gates.
Well, I'm talking about the Russian indictments from
the 12
10
right.
days ago now,
Yeah.
of these Russians
Actual
who are
Russians, yeah.
typing out Facebook posts. Nothing to do with collusion. So I think it's important that this is why Judicial Watch has taken such a strong lead here. It's because you've got this corrupt abuse of power to take down an elected president. It's not even about Mueller at this point. It's about the special counsel office and whether it's being guided as the Constitution is supposed to require. Is it answerable to people appointed by the president and answerable and confirmed by the Senate? I don't think it is, practically speaking. And on top of that, it's just doing whatever it wants. It's got, I guarantee you, Emily, you've been around Washington, you've covered the Justice Department before. There's no comparable investigation with as much resources. They simply, terrorist investigations may have 1 or 2 prosecutors on the case. Here you've got 16 or 17. That to me is just government run amok. And this is a Justice Department that is out of control.
16 or 17 lawyers.
Yeah,
Federal
those are
lawyers.
those are just the prosecutors.
Not to mention the right.
We're not talking about FBI agents. We're not talking about other personnel that support them.
Right.
We've asked for the
What's
budget.
The cost? I was just going
We've
to ask
asked
you
for the
that.
budget.
What is the cost of all this?
They give you the money once it's spent, but Mueller had a proposed budget.
What was it?
Well, we can't get it from this Justice Department.
What? But isn't it appropriated, the money? I mean, there's
Well, don't you want to know how much he was planning to spend?
planning or has or will or...
Well, some of the money, some of the details do come out, but we want the underlying material. We want to know what the proposal is, what his, what is he really looking at? And I tell you...
And when does he stop?
And when does he stop?
At what point does he stop?
Well, look at these indictments between Manafort and Gates. Manafort used to be the chairman of the Trump campaign, and Gates was an official of the Trump campaign, too. They're largely being charged with mortgage fraud. Mortgage, bank fraud, and tax fraud.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with Russia collusion.
And it was before, if I understand, it was before they even worked for Trump, most of these crimes.
Yeah, whether
but,
maybe some crimes moved
but
in.
nothing to do with the president.
Nothing to do with the president.
Nothing whatsoever to do with the president.
And nothing requiring a special counsel for.
Yeah, this could be through regular courts.
Nothing required.
Yeah.
And frankly, if it were for the fact they were former officials in the Trump campaign,
we wouldn't know.
It's not to say they didn't do anything wrong, but they certainly would have been prosecuted, or certainly at the federal level.